Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Den. We're here with you. Got a packed show, exciting show today. We'll get you to an interview with Coach Sallie Burch from women's softball. She previews the season for her 5th ranked softball team, preseason ranked 5th in the country off of a super successful 3rd place finish last year and looking for more this year. That would be great. You won't want to miss that. We'll also visit with Coach Kevin Yates of Wallace State Cheer as they have returned from Orlando and a 2nd place finish in UCA Nationals down there. And it's a great time visiting with him and hearing about the cheerleading and all the work that they put in for only 5 minutes of glory in the end. So great visit there. Let's get you caught up since we were last together. I promised you a busy semester, and I meant 9 total sports, 8 now, with cheerleading finishing up. We'll compete for a championship this season, so we're just getting underway with the busyness. Since we were with you last, men's and women's tennis have began their spring season, and they both won. Men's tennis beat Gadsden State 9-0, and women's tennis beat Sneed State 8-1. So dominant starts there. So the men's and women's tennis spoken. Also, since we've been with you, men's and women's basketball have gotten into conference play very heavily. Both open on the road with 2 wins. Team back home to play several games, and the men suffered a setback against Southern Union. Women continue victorious. They both had to reschedule a game for the Winter Storm on the 26th. The women played that game against Shelton on Saturday, February the 2nd, and were beaten by just a bucket in a matchup of 2 top 15 teams in the country. So the women now sit at 4-1 in conference play, and the men, then after that, both continued on the road again at Calhoun down the road. Women won that game in dominant fashion. The men were beaten as well, and in between, both won a home game against Coastal Alabama. So the women currently sit at 4-1 in conference play. The men at 3-2. So we'll get you to a standing group cap in just a little bit. Again, promised you a wide open spring semester here, and we're just getting going. As men's golf and women's golf will both play season opening tournaments very soon, and obviously baseball will open on February 3rd, and softball as well. So we'll get you those results next time, and we look forward to that. For now, let's get you to a preview interview with the previously mentioned softball coach, Sallie Burch. All right, everybody, welcome in. We've got Sallie Burch, our women's softball coach here. I guess I don't have to say women's, our softball coach here, to give us a quick look back at last year and what a successful year it was, but really to preview the coming year that opens on January 30th. So welcome, Coach.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks. Whew. Gets on you quick, and it's way too cold when y'all start softball.
Absolutely. Yesterday was pretty brutal.
I can't. I'm an indoor sport guy. But so let's go back before we get into next year. Let's go back to when you got here, came to us from UAB, but was kind of a transition, I guess, maybe the best word for the softball team. Had a coach leave, had another coach take the job, got another opportunity within a few months. So you're the 3rd coach in about 3-month span for the softball program, and a time that's pretty crucial for recruiting and everything else.
Absolutely. And it was just one of those things, taking this job. Obviously, I played here. I was an assistant coach here. So this has always been a home for me and one of my stops. And I just never imagined, if you would have told me this last May, that I would be sitting here right now, or year before last, so May of 24, I would have been like, yeah, you're crazy. Like, I'm not going to be the head coach at Wallace State. But God had other plans, and here I am. So it was a wild transition, especially for the players.
Yeah.
and we only kept 2 off of that team.
Yeah.
So it was a tough turnaround last summer for sure.
So had to get and carry. How many did you carry last year? I know it was a light roster.
Had 15 on the roster.
So how'd you get 13 between taking the job in May and school starting in August?
Yes.
And softball recruiting, y'all are kind of walk us through a normal class. Y'all would have been done several months early.
Yeah, they usually sign in November.
Yeah.
So luckily I had it was a big freshman class. So we were good on the freshman numbers. It was just I didn't retain a whole lot of sophomores.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So a crazy time. And before we go, not just a player here, a national champion here. Won a national championship as a player.
I was on the national championship team. I had a lot of good teammates.
No doubt. Spoken like a true coach. But so great success here in the past. Fully aware of the history of the program, taking over a program that was highly successful. And then again, we just walked through probably how many freshmen last year?
So I had 12 freshmen.
12 of 15 players are freshmen. But had a really successful season. Finished. We don't do conference championship. Finished first in the regular season in the league. Stubbed our toe in the tournament a little bit. We're able to get in the national tournament by virtue of an at-large bid, and then kind of walk us through. I mean, that was a fun run out there. So
yeah, it was. And just it goes back to being young. I feel like if you know how to win in those tournaments, and I felt like we were just a little too young in that situation. The moment got too big for us. But going out to Yuma and dropping game 1, and I'm like, how are we going to come all the way out here? We got another chance at life, and then we dropped game 1. So the next day we had practice off, or we had the off day. And so we roll into practice, and it was just like, we just had a big discussion. We really didn't hit a whole lot. We didn't throw a whole lot that day. We talked for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to see them kind of buy into that concept of we can do this. And that was kind of our motto. It was just us versus whoever we played. So it was a cool run. I mean, we went 2 games on Wednesday and won, 2 games on Thursday, won a game on Friday, and then dropped the last game Friday night. But to claw back like that, I think that's a really big deal when we were the last team in. Yeah. Even though I think we were in 11 seed or somewhere in there. But we were the last team, to get an actual draw. So it was a pretty cool.
Yeah. So an awesome run. And you mentioned, so now let's fast forward to this year. We talked about a lot of freshmen, the way that works. Most of the time it's a transfer culture, but most of the time in softball, you get to bring a lot of those guys. So we're going into this year with a team that ended up finishing 3rd in the country. But going to this year, returning 11 of the 15 from last year, adding some pieces. So kind of tell us I'm sure expectations are sky high around the facility and kind of, just kind of walk us through this year's training a little bit.
Absolutely. Last year we were just, you're thrown in. It's like, okay, I've got to build relationships. I've got to get those people to trust me and trust Coach Molly. And so you're in like just fast forward, and they're used to something else. And then you have high school kids coming in who are used to something totally different. So it was a big culture shock, I think, for the whole team bringing in Coach Molly and I. But they really bought into the situation. At the end of our end of the year meetings last year, all of those freshmen, they were like, we want to be pushed harder, and we want the expectations to be bigger than they were this year. They knew that we couldn't push them too hard because we didn't have enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had, out of those 15 players, 4 of those were POs, so that you're down to 11 position players to fill 8 spots. So we couldn't push them at practice a ton, scared of injuries and stuff like that. So this year has been very different, and they have really bought into it. They work hard. But you're right, the expectations are there, and we have the talent, but do we have the culture? And that's what it's ultimately going to boil down to, because you got 10 freshmen coming in that are hungry, and they don't care that you were 3rd in the nation. They don't care a rip. Nobody does. Right. So it's been really cool to see that competition that we didn't have so much of last year.
I think that's you mentioned one of the hardest things when you've been good and you're trying to repeat it is getting them to understand and kind of maybe you don't get to start where you left off last year.
Right.
You don't get none of that. You don't get to carry. The only thing you get to carry is that we know we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But so talk to how have you and coach and even some of your older players managed that, like, because even there is some with the freshmen, they don't care that you're third, they want to play, but there's also a little bit of like, well, we'll do that. You know, how have you guys managed that
Well, I think,
with your
in the fall, we play such a gauntlet of a schedule. I think we played 10 dates and ended up playing 9 Division I schools. So it's a gauntlet, and it's a recruiting tool for us, for my sophomores to get out there. So the freshmen did have to sit back more. But again, at the end of the fall, it was like, hey, it's up for grabs. Whoever's the best position player, that's who's going to play. So I think they have bought in, but that'll be the test of the season is you return 11 kids who are used to being in that starting role, and you're adding 10 kids who also want that starting role.
Yeah.
So we're going to be good if we can learn to buy into our role.
Yeah.
Because the talent's there. We have all the talent. But how are we going to buy in? How are we going to be when it's not our day?
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So open on the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
On the road. I think you're making several trips early because
Yes.
way too cold for softball around here in January, February. So kind of walk us through your maybe some early season schedule, pre-conference, kind of what
So we'll
thoughts
open
are
up
there.
in Albertville. Sneed State's hosts a tournament over there. I think we're playing 2 ranked teams that weekend. Then we'll head down to Pinhall City and play a couple of Florida JUCOs that are D1. So that'll be a good test for us. Oxford also hosts a tournament, and they always have some people, some Texas schools coming up in there. So we try to play 10 to 15 ranked teams early in February. Just to test ourselves, and then conference play doesn't start till March.
And help and the scheduling philosophy, those deals help you a lot in the event last year.
Absolutely.
We don't do what we need to, we don't do what we wanted to do in the tournament, but you're able to get in. Those deals help you down the road.
Absolutely.
And
So you got to stay high ranked and, that kind of thing just in case you mess up, but
yeah.
you shouldn't mess up.
No doubt, no doubt. And preseason polls may be out when this goes. If we have them, we expect top 5 in the country potentially in the preseason poll. So
I would think so. Obviously, I don't know how they do those things. I also don't really care, at the end of the day. But I would think if we place third in the nation and we lost, 4 kids off of that team, returned the kid who was an All-American. So I feel like we have a potential to be in that top 5, but ultimately, are you going to hang on to it or not?
yeah. So tell us this. Tell us about we talked a lot about it coming back. Tell us some players to watch for. I know you're a fun group. I see you walking around. They seem like a fun group to be around and have practice. They come to some basketball games and so tell us who are the fun who we need to look out for and who are those girls that are fun to watch.
Class, like I said, there's a whole lot of talent. We returned 2 of our pitchers off of last year's team. One was first team. Madeline Howard was first team. Ava Smith is a stud. So both of them coming back, and then the 2 freshmen coming in. Feel really good about our pitching staff. Brooklyn Sartell was a second team All-American. I honestly, she's probably the hardest hitter I've ever coached. D1 across the board. Her exit velo has to be. And she never caught a game up until January of last year, and we needed to catch her, and then she became an All-American. So it just, she's a big leader for our team. I appreciate the work that she puts in, but she's the one at the basketball games yelling so loud, I'm sure.
Brooklyn is one of my favorite stories, I think, and I'm gonna make her do this one day here because she's very entertaining when she wants to be,
Yes.
and but I think that's a great story. Had to become a catcher but really is a leader on your team, and I think she's a lot of fun.
And then Lakeland Austin's returning. She hit over 500 in the national tournament last year. Kaylin Jones ended up with our house batting average. She was close to 500 of the season. Had some injuries, but again, just a lot of speed. Tanasia Thomas has a ton of speed. Leah Graves is coming back from the corner. Lexi Kelly. Ashlyn Burns. So all of those kids, and then you add this freshman group, and it's just like, Sydney Gurley is a freshman from the Madison area, and she hit over 300 in the fall, which is crazy considering who we played. So she was our highest batting average. So, that's just right off the top of my head, somebody fighting for something. And there's just a ton of athleticism.
Sounds like, and not familiar with softball if you're watching this. Very fun sport. Sounds like you guys will be a fun team to watch. Hit a lot of balls and score a lot of runs.
Absolutely.
In an already fast paced.
Yeah, I
sport.
mean, Charlie Kaiser also, she was our 4-hole last year. She was top 5 in the nation in RBIs. So a lot of excitement, but like I go back to, and I tell them this, nobody cares what we did last year.
No.
At the end of the day, we did not win the conference tournament. So I try to remind them of that very often.
I'm sure you do. Tell us what else do we need to know? I mean, when's your first home game?
First home game, I believe it is March the 18th.
March 18th. So we'll be looking out for that. But several local games we already mentioned in Aberville, Oxford. Get out and watch this team. They'll be fun. They'll be entertaining. I think they cheer for each other from what I gather. What else? What else do we need to know? I'll just give it to you before we get out of here. What else do we need to know about your squad?
I'm just really excited about it. Like I said, just out of those sophomores, and then adding 2 more. Reese Decker also returns. Her brother played baseball here. And then he went on last year. It was kind of funny. He went on to the College World Series for Murray State. And so I always told her she was competing with her brother. They were competing. He was trying to one-up her. So just like tons of talent, and they are fun. They're a lot of fun. But also we wouldn't be the team we are without Coach Molly. It's pretty cool that I get to come to work every day and work with one of my best friends, and she loves to call me the boss, and I hate that. But she is totally in charge of our strength and conditioning and our pitchers. And she really helps this team a ton. So it's not me. I hate that, things come back to me, but it's definitely, I feel like we will be able to put something fun on the field and just kind of see what happens.
Let's go. We'll get out and watch them. Open January 30th. Won't be at home till March 18th, but get out and see them play. Fun team, and we'll be looking out for where we land in those preseason polls.
Not March 18th, February 18th.
February 18th.
Yeah.
February 18th. February 18th, we'll get them out there, and but it's a fun team to watch, and we'll be looking out for the preseason polls. I know you hate those, and all coaches hate them, but fans like them, so we'll be looking out for them.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. Okay, let's get you caught up on where the Lions stand in conference play. Men's and women's basketball conference play in full swing. Women's basketball sits alone in second place in conference play behind Shelton State. Our Shelton at 6-0, and the Lady Lions at 5-1 by virtue of their 2-point loss here at home to Shelton State. So they're 1 game behind with lots of games left, and they're 1 clear of Lawson State 3-2, and 2 clear of Bishop State in third. As that looks to shape up to be a 2-horse race there for the conference championship between Shelton and Wallace State. Men's basketball standings, much different animal, as 5 teams tied atop the men's basketball standings through 5 games at 3 wins and 2 losses. Wallace State in amongst that tie with Shelton State, Gadsden State, Calhoun Community College, and Southern Union State, all vying for that coveted first or second seed in the conference tournament that gets you a bye to the semifinals, and looking to be a huge race for those in men's basketball, as there are many games left to be played down the stretch. Those games, men's and women's basketball, typically played Mondays and Thursdays outside of weather issues, and those will be fun races to follow as the season continues. For now, let's get you over to an interview and a visit with Kevin Yates with Wallace State Cheerleading. Okay, everybody, welcome in again inside the den. We're here with Wallace State cheer coach Kevin Yates, fresh off of a trip to the national UCA competition in Orlando, Florida. So he got a better tan than all the rest of us.
It was cold. Second year in a row we've been down there, and they've had like just the weather was crazy because the week before it was in the 80s. We get down there and it's in the 60s, and I think Wednesday morning they had a frost warning, and we're like, really?
So we travel all that way on the bus and don't even get one wet. Then this never mind. So anyway, so I wanna take everybody inside a little bit because cheerleading, obviously the most visible part sometimes of what y'all do is at other people's games and support for other people's games. But what a lot of people are aware, but maybe not as aware is you guys really put a lot of work in. It's very unique because you put a lot of work in to compete one time. So kind of walk us through I know you're back here after cheering here and some of that, but kind of walk us through y'all's season, get together and whenever start whenever you guys start and kind of walk us through it.
Okay. Well, first of all, before I get started, I just want to say, thanks to Dr. Karlowitz and Paul Bailey and Kristen Holmes being, big supporters of the cheer program. Wallace State, we do have 2 national championships here in 04 and 06. I happen to be an assistant coach here in 06, so I had something to do with that. But a little bit about cheerleading is, as I tell people, people tell me like other sports, some sports get like 3 months off, and ours, we don't. I mean, we get maybe 1 month off. Like for now, we just got back from nationals. We will still continue practicing. We'll still cheer at basketball games. After the conference, we're still practicing. And then we have tryouts in May, and then I give them the last, 2 or 3 months off or 2 or 3 weeks off in May, and then we start back practice up again in June. So I tell people, the sport of cheerleading is we practice 11 months out of the year to go to nationals to do 2 performances, 2.5 minutes. And, it's, and the thing about us, here, is like I'm still recruiting, still rebuilding. This year it takes 20 people on a mat to compete. So this year, I've got 12 freshmen and 8 sophomores. So, but some of these freshmen have never stepped foot on a competitive stage before. So, it's a challenge in itself is just to prepare these athletes mentally. It ain't just physically, it's mentally, because we're doing skills that takes a lot of strength, but also a lot of mental toughness to how to make adjustments if something was to go wrong. So and I'm going into my 4th year here, and it's been rebuilding. But finally this year the team finally saw my vision and they saw what we wanted to accomplish. And all year we just said we just wanted to make it to finals because there were 15 teams in our division, and so what they did is they take 8 teams to finals. So our goal was just make it to finals. And then whenever they called out, the top 8 teams, when they called us out, second place, I mean, we were ecstatic.
Yeah.
So, and that's a pressure in itself too, knowing that you're going into finals placed second. So, because I mean, in our division, or just cheerleading at whole, we've seen teams go from first place to last place. We've seen teams go from last place to first.
So let's go there. I won't stop. Don't catch it. But let's explain. We get down there, and it you said it's 2.5 minute routine. But after the first one, sounds like they cut about half the field out.
Yes, sir.
So help us with how the scoring works. So then, how do you win if you're in first place going into that last one? Do you get to carry that stuff over? Kind of explain this.
So in the sport of cheerleading, it's a clean slate, meaning like the scores don't go over to finals. It's a new panel of judges, but it's a clean slate. They take the top 8 teams that score. In our division, which in our division is called open small co-ed, meaning that we can have up to 5 guys on the mat competing. Small co-ed being, up to 5 males. So, in rebuilding, like me being a former football player, baseball player, power lifter, transitioning over into the sport of cheerleading, cheerleading kind of came, I'm not going to say easy, but I was strong. So this year, I mean, I've got 4 guy freshmen that has never done this sport before, but they've fell in love with it and they're strong and they're stunning and doing stuff. So I knew this year was going to be a challenge in itself to get my guys ready physically to be able to do these stunts, toss girls in the air, throw baskets. I mean, we throw baskets where we're throwing girls, 20, 25 feet in the air. You got to catch them. It's like I tell the guys, I said, I don't care what happens. Your job is to catch these girls. But I told the team, I said, guys, when you buy into my vision and you want it more than me, then we're going to be successful. And my guys, you couldn't get them out of the gym. They were in the gym every night practicing. So I just can't, just say how proud I am of this team, of just turning this program around.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, like it's a high level of trust to let somebody throw you 30 feet in the air, trust and spin, and hope they catch you, right?
That's right.
So tell it. So sounds like let's kind of we get you. Sounds like you start in June.
Yes, sir.
With practice and play, and you guys practice and prepare. And I know you're there a lot. I run into you a lot. We're in the gym all that time for, you compare it to football or even football, who has one of the fewest games that they'll start in August and they'll prepare. They get 13. You guys get one shot at it.
And one shot.
That's
it.
So fun stuff. Tell us a little more about your team. Tell us some fun things about your squads this year. I know you said you got about 12 freshmen, so we'll see several of them back.
We're hoping that everybody comes back, but it's I tell people like here at Wallace, when Dr. Carlworth hired me, I told her, I said, she told me, she said, I want national championships. When I took over Wallace, I literally was recruiting people or calling coaches, and coaches would literally tell me, who's Wallace State, So I knew I had to rebrand, what, Rob Metcalf, the, previous coach that was here for 22 years, I think, he built this program, he built the brand, built the name, everybody knew about Wallace. And that's what I try to tell people, when we went down there and we performed, everybody was like, who's Wallace? Who's Wallace? And that's like I told my kids, I said, Wallace State is the standard. It used to be.
Yeah.
And that, I got hired to bring that standard back. And I told my team, I said, we can get there. You got to believe me. You got to trust me, and this year's team, they all believed, and I tell people in my sport, like we're taking average athletes, trying to turn them into great. And the most difficult that I have learned is that you're always having to remind them how good they are. So it's like in my sport, you drop a stunt, that's catastrophic, and it's like I try to tell them, keep all stunts in the air, learn to make adjustments. Something was to happen, you got to make that split second decision to just keep that stunt in the air and then dismount at, on the right count, stuff like that. So this team is very, very special. I mean, everybody worked hard all the way from my freshmen, all the way to the sophomores. Injuries hit us hard. I think it's the month of October. I mean, I had 5 athletes out that was on the mat. So the alternates had to come in. The alternates were, they have to be at practice. They've got to do the workouts. They've got to submit the videos. They worked hard. We had an athlete get hurt. She didn't get released until 3 weeks before we went to nationals, So, the team never lost their vision, And I told them, I said, guys, don't lose your vision. Everything's going to work out. Let's go down there. Let's just hit and let's just see where we place, and then going down the finals, second place, and even still getting second place, it's people ask me like, are you upset? I said, no. I said, because before I took over the program, Wallace never made it to finals. My first year, yeah, we went into finals and we had a hiccup during finals, but I said we still made it to finals. And then the past 2 years is rebuilding, we wasn't so successful at nationals. And then this year, just like I said, words can't explain just how special this team is.
Yeah, obviously a huge deal. And not just so people know, not just competing against other junior colleges.
Yeah.
Or it's an open division. that's everything other than large Division I
Yeah.
university.
Well, open means that, it's JUCOs, but we're competing against JUCOs all over the United States. Some programs that have been to nationals and they place top 3 every single year, and then all of a sudden we come down there and we make the showing that we did. And, I had other coaches, I had athletes, come up to me and, parents come up to me and ask me, said, who is Wallace State? We ain't never heard of, where y'all from, so it's hard to explain, but I just, I tell the kids, I said, it's such a great feeling when you work hard, you produce hard. And then when you're down at nationals, people's practicing and all of a sudden they're watching you and then they're asking questions and you hear the chatter in the background. It's like, hey, who is that? Wallace State, where they're from? Hey, what division are they in? Like, oh my gosh, look at them. They look so good. So you hear that chatter. And it's like, and I tell my athletes, I'm like, you hear it, it feels good, but stay focused on the goal. Don't let that get your head.
No,
We're good, but you know what? We're not great yet, but we're going to get there.
no doubt. Last thing I have for you, and we'll let's get out of here. Appreciate your time, but tell us kind of. I know we're 2-year school, so everything's a little. Your athletes are your 8 sophomores that you said you had. They're all of them looking to move on. They all get opportunities.
They are. The thing in our sport is we always have meetings. Like we just got back from nationals now. I give them the rest of this week off. And I tell them starting next week, we'll start meeting with each athlete individually, starting with the sophomores, trying to find out, I pretty much know where they want to go. Out of our 8 sophomore, I mean, I've got one that's committed in our sport, cheerleading, programs is University of West Georgia. We've got a girl committed there. We've got a girl committed to Morehead State University. And then my other 6, their options are open. They're definitely wanting to go places. We've got some University of Memphis, small co-ed division, D1A. They just won their division. We've got an athlete interested in going there. While we were in Orlando, we practiced with USF, University of South Florida, Tuesday night. Which was great for us because they ended up winning the large co-ed division in D1A. And while we were down there, like their coaches came up to me and they were like, "Hey, like, can I talk to your athletes?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And and they're like, "Listen, do your year, do your 2 years. We would love to have you, come down here." So yeah, we do.
Big time opportunity for our girls.
Yeah. So we do try to encourage them, to move on to the next level and cheer if they want to. But yeah, and I tell the kids all the time, like, getting your 2 years here at Wallace is so important, and if you don't decide to cheer, that's fine, but you'll always remember where you started because I started here and then I transferred to Morehead, and it's like I tell my kids, I've got 2 college national championships, but it ain't about me. I don't wear my rings. I didn't even take them to nationals. And people was asking me, it's like, where's your rings at? And I was like, guys, it ain't about me. This is about you. And I said, when we win one at Wallace, then I'll start wearing a ring.
There you go. Yeah. Well, awesome, Coach. We appreciate your time and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. Busy week as promised for Lion Athletics. Softball travels to Panama City Beach for a classic, and they'll play 3 games there. They will play on Thursday, February 6th. They'll play Kotchick and Henry College at 9 a.m., Andrew College at 1 p.m. Then they'll stay around and play on Friday, February 6th. They'll play versus Daytona State College in Panama City Beach. Looks to be their softball team looks a little delayed start on their top 5 ranking. Top 5 preseason ranking, but let me get their campaign started in a little delayed fashion. Also on Thursday, February 6th, men's and women's basketball will compete in a conference game at Lawson State in Birmingham, Alabama. Those 2 games are tipped at 5. Women tip at 5:30, men following at 7:30. Also this week, men's and women's tennis at Berry College in Rome on Friday, February 6th. At 1 p.m. Baseball will open their season at home on Friday, February 6th with a series against Frontier College. That series will be a doubleheader beginning at 1 p.m. on Friday with the second game to follow after, and another doubleheader on Saturday starting at 12 p.m. with the other game there after. Women's golf opens their season beginning Saturday, February 7th on the tournament at Florida Gateway, and that tournament will run February 7th through the 10th down in Lake City, Florida. Men's golf also will compete February 8th through the 11th at the Southern Union State Community College Invitational as well. And then we'll round out the week Sunday, men's and women's tennis at home versus Coastal Alabama North at 1 p.m. Getting you into Monday as another doubleheader. The women will step out of conference to play Community Christian College out of Georgia here at home at 4 p.m. And the men will make up their rescheduled game versus Shelton State at 7 p.m. Monday, February 9th. Be there and catch all these games whenever you can. If you can't come out, be sure to follow us on YouTube to catch all the home action live. Or follow us on social media for constant updates, and be sure to follow each individual sport program as well as the main athletic page so you get all those updates in real time. That's all we have for the show today. Thanks for being with us. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode, but we can keep you caught up on all things Lion athletics. Thanks for being here, and go Lion.